All right. Hi, Stephanie.
Hi, how are you?
I'm so good and I'm so glad to see you. And at the end of a long teaching day, you still have a smile on your face. That's the kind of teacher that you are. So I am thrilled to catch up with you today. Our paths came together. We got a chance to work together as a coach and a teacher and experience a little bit about camp and then your journey took you somewhere else. And we haven't seen each other or talked to each other in a while. So I'm glad to reconnect.
Me too. I same here.
And so, getting back to the basics podcast is just that. It's about getting back to the basics of teaching, pedagogy, instructional efficacy. It's also about getting back to the basics for ourselves, like taking care of ourselves and, putting our oxygen mask on first so we can take care of all those that are around us. And so it's also the title of Camp Explorer's new book, Getting Back to the Basics, with this idea of really just having some food for thought and then being able to journal and discuss it. So you came to mind as we were writing the book because there's a chapter in the book, whether you're a teacher or an administrator, and the chapter is when good teachers start to doubt themselves, and that the systems can erode that belief that teachers have, or it can restore so that they do start to see the power of them. And so before we jumped on the podcast, you and I were catching up a little bit, and you feel like you found a school that is your school home now. So
Yes, I'm home.
you're home. Before we jump too deep into it, tell us a little bit about just yourself or even the move to a new school, what it did for you.
I am so sorry you froze up for about 30 seconds. So I heard before we jump too deep.
Okay, no problem. Before we jump in too deep, I just wanted you to share with the listeners and the viewers a little bit about yourself and what makes your new home feel like home for you.
Okay. So I am Stephanie Lucas and this is my 10th year. And I have been fortunate enough to spend all 10 years in fourth grade. Fourth grade is definitely where I plan on staying as long as I have a say in it. I plan on staying in fourth grade. I didn't have one specific problem with my previous school, my previous district. It just began to feel like it wasn't a good fit for me. And having that feeling, I didn't enjoy it. So I started looking around and I started researching. I started talking to current teachers who work here. I had the opportunity to talk to some former teachers that work here. And I got no negative results whatsoever, no negative feedback about this district. I interviewed here, and when I tell you I walked out of that interview, I said, this is it. This is where I'm supposed to be. And I knew on my drive home that this was where I was supposed to be. I spent my drive home and I just prayed. And by the time I got home, it's a 45-minute drive. So it is quite a drive for me, but it is worth it. By the time I got home, my phone was ringing with the offer.
Uh-huh.
And so it was fate. It was whatever you want to call it. It was perfection.
You gave me goosies because
I have them as well. Whenever I think about this place, it is my very first day in the building when I was setting up my new classroom. No less than 20 people stopped to speak to me and
wow.
welcome me. And it was just the culture here, the environment here is just so amazing.
Well, it does sound like you found your home. And when you can go to a place that you feel that strongly connected to, I just can't imagine being an educator going in and trying to fake it. There's a saying, fake it till you make it, but you can also fake it till you die.
Right.
We don't want to lose passionate educators in every home. or every school isn't every home for every teacher. So I applaud when we say getting back to the basics for ourselves. That's what we're talking about. Like you recognizing this wasn't a good fit for me. It wasn't that it was a bad school or bad kids, just wasn't the right school for you. So kudos to you for that. If we could shift gears a little bit, I would love for the viewers and the listeners to kind of hear a little bit about when you first came to camp. Number one, you didn't know what you were getting into. You traveled with a team across a couple of states. The camp that you came to is actually down in Alabama. So, can you kind of share what that first camp experience was like? Like, what were you thinking? What were you hoping for? What were you unsure about? Just kind of all those emotions that go with going to the camp for the first time. What were you experiencing?
When I first walked into camp, I honestly had no idea what to expect. I knew what it was. I had the synopsis of it. I had the Cliff's Notes version, the brochure, as if you will. But I had no idea what I was getting myself into. I was like, okay, so I'm going to learn some things. I may be able to take some worksheets back to my classroom. And, you know, if I learn one thing, I'll walk out better than I was before. That was my expectation was I want to learn one thing. That is not what happened.
Okay.
It was not one thing. It was all the things.
Yeah, it's hard to read a brochure and
Mm-hmm.
process what it was like. And so, um, as the listeners are listening, they may be thinking, well, this chapter is about when good teachers doubt themselves, right? And it wasn't so much that you were doubting yourself, it was more of this you were in the place of maybe skepticism. And was there a system in place that was going to restore your drive? And so I remember coming back to your school and you said, Dana, come to my classroom. I've got to tell you this story. And I go down to your classroom and you're like, I'm going to be honest. I mean, the viewers hear your little voice when I say that. I'm going to be honest. I wasn't sure about all that stuff y'all threw out at us. I didn't know. I was probably doubting the strategies just a little bit. And I love that transparency about you. But you told the story of you were trying to teach a lesson
Mm-hmm.
and the kids were missing some foundational skills. And you just had to stop in the moment and you had to pivot and you had to adjust. And you picked the strategy, the give one, get one, where it lets them own their own learning. They only need to know one thing to participate. And it gets them up, it gets them moving, it gets them active listening, active processing, academic discourse, all those goody nuggets. And you were able to do a review of those missing components. And I think it was around text features, if
Text
I.
features, yes.
And so maybe share with the listeners why was that doubt there around the strategy? And then what happened when you use the strategy?
To be honest, the only reason I used that strategy is because it was zero prep. I
Hmm.
went in with a completely different lesson. Um, I was teaching the scaffold version of text features. Once I got in there and I started teaching and I saw all the blank looks and zero idea what I was talking about, I knew that I couldn't go on anymore and we had to get back to the basics. We had to bring it down a step. And so I was like, what am I going to do? Give one, get one was it came to mind just because of the fact that it was zero prep. That is the to be honest, the only reason I tried it in my classroom was because it was zero prep and I had no other choice. But when I tell you, oh my goodness, I emailed you immediately after the lesson was over. I emailed you immediately because What I saw when I looked out was I saw engagement that I don't usually have. I saw participation that I don't usually have. And I saw the engagement and the participation from every single student in the class. It wasn't one or two ones that always have their hands up. I didn't have anybody sleeping in the back row and not paying attention. I didn't have anybody doodling instead of taking notes. That was not what I saw. What I saw was 100% engagement, 100% participation, and the conversations that I heard walking
Mhm.
around the classroom. It wasn't just, oh, what do you have? What do you have? It
Mhm.
was, what do you have? Well, what was that? I can't remember what that is. Oh, well, that is. And I mean, it was, they were owning their learning. I
Mhm.
mean, they were owning it. They, I was, I could have left the room and they would have run it completely themselves. I served as a facilitator, but this was definitely a student led activity because they were owning it. I told them what they were supposed to do, and they took it and they ran and they added onto it and added onto it. And so from that moment, that became a regular activity and a regular event in my classroom.
Yeah. You are speaking my love language on so many levels because 100% engagement is a phenomenon to people that haven't had the chance to explore what strategies truly do give 100% engagement. And sometimes when we're doing walkthroughs, what people consider engagement really is not at that level, right? And I think hearing you talk about the engagement, but then man, 100%. So if I just ask a question, right, call out a question, and I have 26 kids in the class, I'm not going to hit 100% engagement doing it that way. And so that spoke to me. The other thing that spoke to me is because of that, I just need to go into this activity or this strategy as a student knowing one thing. And I can take that one thing and I can multiply it and I can build upon it. And so when you talked about zero prep, well, what teacher doesn't love that?
Right.
Other thing is that it has built-in scaffolding
Mhm.
in a non-threatening way, and it lets every child come in at whatever level they are. So, and I remember you even, you emailed me about it, and then I was there like a couple weeks later, and you're like, come down here. And I remember talking to the kids, and they're like, oh yeah, I got to teach my friend about such and such. Oh yeah, I got to, and they were so proud of themselves
Yes.
that they contributed to the learning.
Mhm.
That's the power. That's the power in it. And then to know, hey, it's such a goodie. We use it over and over and over again. So you said that you didn't just walk away with one thing. You walked away with a whole enchilada. Like you probably got more than you could have bargained for.
Yes.
What did that experience, what did you gain from that experience as you are a passionate educator? And sometimes we think, oh, well, just our teachers that need help need to come to camp, or teachers that are brand new. No, camp is for every teacher, right? And whether you're a veteran or a newbie, whether you are still on fire for teaching or you've lost your spark, like it is truly for everybody. Tell the listeners what you personally gained as an instructional leader.
When I went to camp, I got the brochure version of what to expect. When I got in there, I was honestly expecting you to say, okay, here you go. This is how you do it. Boom, boom, boom. Step one, step two, step three. Here's a sheet for you to follow the steps so that you'll know how to do this in your classroom. Oh, no, no, no. We get in there and you say, okay, everybody stand up and you're going to do this activity. So I was able to do these activities as a student. And I
Yeah.
was learning it for the very first time, and you were teaching me for the very first time. So I got to experience what the kids are going to do, what I need for them to do, what my expectation needs to be coming out of this, and then what questions they're going to have. Because there were some that I was like, what, wait, what am I supposed to do? And, I'm an adult. If I don't know what I'm supposed to do, if I have questions about this piece, then my students are probably going to have questions about this piece too. So I got to see it from their perspective. And that, I think, was the absolute biggest takeaway from it. Instead of you standing up there and you saying, okay, here's an activity that you can try, here is how you do it, here's the steps. We actually got to experience it as the student.
No, we froze up. Hold on, listener.
Because that is something that um we're told, try this,
Mhm.
but we're not told, or we're not given the opportunity to experience it. So I don't know if the kids are going to be engaged in it. There's several things that I brought back to my classroom, but then there were other things that I was like, I didn't really enjoy this. I don't think that this is a good fit for my classroom. I know my students and I didn't enjoy it. I don't think that they're going to. And so those are things that we left. So I was able to get that firsthand knowledge of and have that background knowledge before we went in and I tried it in the classroom.
So that was what you gained as the learner, like you
Yeah.
said. And we have to remember that different learners have different learning styles. We've gotten away from the understanding the modalities. We've gotten away from understanding the research about the movement. And like, if you really look at it, they should be moving every 7 to 12 minutes. That blows people's mind, right? But you also had some autonomy. So you may have learned 30 different strategies, but you only chose to go back and use 20 of them, and that's perfectly okay. Um, what if that was your takeaway? What do you believe the impact is from that learning? How has that impacted maybe both you as the teacher, and how has that impacted the results you're getting in the classroom?
So there's no question, like to give one, get one. There is
Mhm.
no question in my mind that is not something that I would have come up with on my own. Um, that is not something that my students would have been able to experience. However, um, I was able to get these new resources, get these new ideas, and figure out the pieces and adapt them to my classroom, because some of them I have adapted to. It's not the exact same that we did in camp. I have adapted it to my students' needs. Um, I have gained a wealth of knowledge on things that I can do. And if something's not working, I can reset and I can try something else. And I have this whole toolbox that I can pull from. So as an educator, I feel way more prepared.
Yeah. That speaks to the whole premise of mindset, skill set, and tool set, and being able to have what you need in order to do
Now,
the
the students,
yeah.
not only are the students getting the,
Hmm.
we are breaking up hard.
Yeah, we did. I kept talking, hoping that
Yeah.
we
I
were
was
together.
talking, you were talking. Yeah.
Um, it you're speaking to that ripple effect, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because you have that knowledge, now you can change up. And for sharing with the listeners, our premise, we look at three pillars: your mindset, your skill set, and your tool set. And you actually use that language of, hey, I've got all these strategies that I can pull out. And if something isn't working with my kids, I just need to have another one to be able to use with them. I want to share a quote with you that is in the book. I'm going to read it so I don't monk it up, but I need to put on my glasses. I want to share a quote with you that is in the chapter, and then I want to hear what it means to you, if I could.
Okay.
It said, doubt doesn't mean you failed. It means the work deserves better conditions. Yeah. What's that quote mean to you?
Um, it means something now
Hmm.
that is totally different than what it would have meant to me several years ago. Um, Now it means that, okay, let's stop, let's reset, and let's figure it out. Um, I don't know if this is going to work, but we're going to give it our best try. Years ago, it meant, oh, I'm not a very good teacher and I am messing this up completely. I had a mindset and I was I had a fixed mindset and it was not a very good mindset. And it took me a while to get into the mindset of it's okay, not everything's going to work.
Mhm.
But once I got into that mindset, it completely changed my way of thinking. It completely changed my way of teaching. So now that quote means that it may not work, but I'm going to figure it out.
I love it. So you're really talking about either your doubt letting your confidence erode, or having this mindset and the skill set and the tool set to be able to restore what it is you're working toward. So you spoke to that beautifully.
I
I
look back on the teacher that I was, and I have lots to say to the teacher that I was.
Mhm. And be kind to yourself because you were
Yes,
still, like you said, we're lifelong learners. That's
yes.
what education is all about. And the fact that you own it and you are determined to figure it out, like that just speaks volumes. So I cannot thank you enough for joining us and just sharing your story and being open. You know, talking about our doubts, our insecurities aren't easy, but I hope that there's a new teacher that maybe is going through what you were going through about, hey, I'm not getting this right. I must not be very good at it, versus, no, you just don't have the right tools right now. I hope that you will speak some hope into them. And then I also hope that there's some listeners that can radiate with your story of perseverance and giving yourself credit for what you are doing and trying. So thank you again for joining us. And I really hope we get to see you at camp soon because you're learning, you're what you embody as a learner is contagious. So
Thank you so much for having me.
you're so welcome.